everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you are globally. Welcome to the Gym Owners Fitness Business Podcast. And our podcast is proudly supported and sponsored by MyZone, Fitness on Demand, Oz Active, and of course, Explore Technologies. Today, I'm speaking to Michael Benso from Buzops. Now, Michael's career is absolutely huge and very successful, and we're going to try and condense everything down into the next 30 minutes. So the first place to start with is good morning or good afternoon where you are, Michael. How are you going today?
I'm doing great. It's the evening here, and I see that you're starting your day. So I'm slowing down, and you're getting ready to ramp up.
I certainly am, and I'll be in the club tonight teaching classes, but excited to be on
Awesome.
the podcast with you this morning. So let's get started. So Michael, first of all, let's talk about your success in building a chain of fitness clubs. How did that start, and why did you go from one to multiple?
So I think the thing that a lot of people want to do, at least for me, it was helping people. And when you get started, I'll back up for a second because I want to tell a quick story. So I thought I was going to be a physician. I thought I was going to go into medicine or veterinary medicine. And at a young age, my grandfather passed away from heart disease, and he had multiple heart attacks. And for whatever reason, and I think this is the case for anyone, in any child or anyone going through that situation, they take it pretty hard. And I was very close to my grandfather, and I took it very hard, and it stuck with me so much so that as I was going through college and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I knew I wanted to do fitness because I started fitness when I was about 14 years old, reading muscle and fitness magazines and trying to understand all the stuff in the back and ordering things that would give you some kind of offer and tell you that you were going to do something really great if you did the workout program. And as I got into college, I stuck with fitness. I stuck with sports. And one night I sat on my bed in my apartment, and a book fell from it's like the school. This is before internet was really popular and kids could figure out what classes they wanted to take online. A book fell from the bed, and it has all the classes in it, and it landed on a page, and it said exercise physiology.
Ooh.
And I was like, ooh, that kind of struck a chord, and I thought this might be a good thing to get into because it has something to do with physiology. It's kind of in that medical field. And I sat in on a course and I loved it. And the thing that got me was the professor said something that stuck with me. It still sticks with me today, is that even though physicians out there are always helping treat patients, a lot of times physicians will give medication, and it's a prescription. But that doesn't necessarily solve the problem. What we do in the fitness industry as fitness professionals is we not only prescribe, but we also prevent. We help prevent disease before it happens. And that goes from mental problems that people experience and mental health to cardiovascular health and fitness and overall well-being. And that's what kind of drove me into the fitness realm. And then I always wanted to do something with ownership of a gym or personal training. And after my master's degree, I got started with Gold's Gym, and realized that I felt pretty good when I saw somebody else see results. And that's what spun off into the idea of, well, maybe we can do this more times than one at one location. And that was the start of my career with Fitness Management Group.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. So you went from wanting to study vet science to studying exercise science, and then you've gone ahead and opened up your own facility. How did you go, though, from opening one to wanting to open or be in charge of more than one facility? Because, Michael, I've had 2 facilities and never again. I'm happy with one headache. I love what I do, and I love my team, and I love my members, but I'm happy with one responsibility. So walk me through the process of that.
Sure. So I researched franchising. I never actually got through the process of franchising, but I did license. And I think licensing offers a lot of value without all the restrictions that franchising might offer. And it gives those who want a license the opportunity to kind of have their own way with maybe the way that they want to operate within some kind of controlled situation. But to your point about having one to many, one location, I recall, I mean, I was there nonstop all day working with I wanted to support and help every client that came through the doors. And as we were growing, hire more trainers, we had more customers. And so naturally it was this expansion and I had to figure it out. And I'll tell you, one of the things that happened, I was being advised by, when you're starting, I mean, you make decisions sometimes based on budget. And I didn't have a lot of money for an outstanding attorney. I had a good attorney that practiced well in his field. And what I really needed was an attorney that was well-versed in employment law. And I kind of had the attorney that was versed in, can't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't in the area that I needed. Good attorney, just not in the area that I needed. And he had advised that my employees that I was hiring should be 1099 contractors, because that way, allows them to do what they needed to do and they could work at other locations. And it allowed me a little bit more flexibility and saved me a little bit of money on taxes. And, if they weren't getting the 40 hours a week that they needed, it afforded them the opportunity to train somewhere else. So I did that, but we continued to grow. And at one point we had over 300 trainers. And within a year or two, I can't remember when it was, but if an employee, first of all, if you're bringing in a good amount of cash or revenue and you're reporting this, the IRS here in the US, they'll kind of raise a flag and go, they're making some decent money, or at least there's a good gross revenue there. Where are the taxes? And then if your employees tied to that are not reporting their own taxes, then they double flag you. And so what ended up happening for me was I got a bill from the IRS for $250,000. And I'm going, how is this possible? Everybody's a 1099 contractor. And I had to pay that bill. So not only did I have to pay that bill, but then I had to make them employees. And it was a big expense and a big learning experience, to your point about going from one to many. But I think the one to many situation, had I had a business coach or someone who had done this, who had opened more than one location or opened a couple locations that I could have listened to or talked to, I think it would have been a lot easier process for me. And I recall early in when I was first starting, you kind of have this sense about yourself, like things are going well, you're making money, and you don't feel like you necessarily need the help because you've got the answers because you're making money. Well, I was approached by several consultants who were in the business field, and I probably should have taken them up on it and taken their advice. But I wasn't humbled enough to understand that business growth outside of my small area of expertise and fitness, that I didn't know a lot of things about accounting. I didn't know a lot of things about marketing or business or strategy or taking care of employees or HR. There was so much that I didn't know, and I had to fail through it. And it was tough and a huge challenge. But now, that you have those experiences, you learn what you don't want to do again or experience again. And you do your best to make sure that the next go around, you do a lot better at it.
Absolutely true. I remember I opened my club September 2003, and it'd been open for about 7 or 8 months. And the accountant came around and said to me, "We need to have a chat." And I was like, "Oh, what's the chat about?" And he said, "You know that you have to pay BAS." And I said, "What's BAS?" And so I'd been operating a business for 7 or 8 months, didn't even know what BAS was, what it stood for, or anything like that. And that was a very quick learning curve for me. And I no longer have that accountant. He disappeared very, very quickly. And I've had the same one ever since, hence why we've got a great business. But Michael, just so that the listeners understand, there's obviously a difference between franchising, becoming a franchisor, then franchising to the franchisee, and also having a license for your product. So can you just explain the difference for everybody between being a franchisee and then having a license?
Sure. So what I learned, and there are certain components of this that my expertise is limited. But what I can tell you is that I learned in the franchising space that if you want to go out and franchise, the benefit of franchising is it gives someone who wants to replicate your model that's been proven the opportunity to do the same thing over and over. And it gives them all the tools, all the resources, the software, the playbook, so to speak, of exactly how to do that business and do it well. It also gives you the marketing tools, the accounting, the expectations of pricing and how you should price in different markets. They also help with your real estate and site location, and then all of the training. So any of the training tools or guides that are necessary to overcome objections or sell or whatever it is. I mean, everything that is your business, like you have your locations today, that whole thing packaged up, all of your experience that you have documented with all of the resources. So somebody can just press play and all of a sudden now they have this model ready to go. Just like, great example is McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and all of these fast food chains that are opening up very quickly. You pay for that. You pay for that experience. You pay for the quality of what they deliver. And with franchising, I would say the downsides of it are that you are in a confined space. So they give you the box and the package, and they say, this is how this thing works, but that's the box and the package. The box doesn't typically grow bigger than that. The contents in that package, you typically can't add more to it unless the franchisor says adding more to it makes sense for the model. So you're pretty restricted. The licensing component, though, gives you the ability to say, here's this flexible box and flexible package. And you don't necessarily always have the same restrictions, even by state. So some countries, I know if you do franchising here in the US, you open that franchise here, when you go to another country, you also have to make sure you meet the regulations and requirements in that country. And then you have to set up the name and the naming convention, the domain, and everything related to that business in that country. Licensing is a different ballgame. You can kind of just license out to someone in another country, and as long as they're following your, flexible guidelines, it's okay, and it's not necessarily regulated as much as the franchising space is. And licensing is usually less expensive.
True. Before we move on to the discussion about software, do you think that licensing your product is also a little bit dangerous because, let's face it, some operators can bastardize, the brand that's out the front, as opposed to franchising, as you said, this is the box and you've got to stick to the box. Whereas licensing, there's a little bit of flexibility. And because the flexibility is there, it allows for, as I said, bastardizing the brand. Do you think that that is something that can be an issue?
I completely agree with you. I think the way to combat that is to, face forward with and be forward with your team and whomever is going to be a licensor, making sure that the culture that you've intended on your brand being or your style being, that culture lives through. CrossFit is a great example of that. I think over the years it's been watered down because of a host of things. I'm not going to name anything in specific, but CrossFit as a program, when they first started, there was a very, very deep rooted culture still today. And for the majority of them, I would say 80%, they all follow that same plan, that same progress, the workouts of the day. They follow those things to a T. And now you have other CrossFitters, because they don't want to pay the license, they might go out and name it something else. They won't call it CrossFit. They'll call it, cross training or something to the effect. And so now you have these others opening up a very similar product or business, and it matches that style, but then now they don't have to pay the license fee. But you get the same thing in franchising. So even if you have a good franchise brand, You can still have franchisees come in because they don't want to follow the rules to a T. They follow them close enough to meet the requirements, right? And because they meet the requirements, they don't exceed them. Now your culture and the quality of your product goes down. Not that I eat at McDonald's a lot, but I'm going to bring that example up again. You can go to a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A and you could get at one location operated by a very good operator, a great meal. To me, that, it depends on who's measuring that great meal, right? I don't really care for that food, but the concept of it is that the food itself is quality food. Now, if you go to another location that is owned by another franchisor and that operator doesn't care to take care of the quality of the ingredients, changing the oil and the fryers, the cleanliness of the space, or training the staff the way that they need to be trained, now the quality control is kind of out the window. So I think in either scenario, you still have the opportunity to lose the quality that's intended. And I myself experienced that as I grew because I was growing too quick.
Yeah.
And the concept of how we wanted to train our clients and our coaches and even work with our team members. I know in our first couple locations, clients were thrilled. They had amazing results. We never had a bad review. And then by the time we get to location number 50, we get bad reviews, disappointed customers, chargebacks on accounts, returns, having to refund people, complaints. I mean, so I think you experience that anywhere. So doing it all over again, I've gone through this process a few times. If I were to go back and do this again, and start over, maybe just a couple locations would be suitable for me because I know that that's something that's very manageable and in comparison. And it's I can keep people happy. With one or two locations, you can really cater to your clientele and make them happy. And I think that's so important today.
It is. And I agree with everything that you've said. I think at the end of the day, the success for the franchisee comes from the relationship that they have with the franchisor. And I think you can look at any brand nowadays and look at the growth of the brand to know the success of that business. So if a brand is a franchise and it's not growing too quickly, then you sort of say to yourself, well, what's going on behind the scenes, as opposed to those that are growing quite quickly and have very successful franchisees, and most importantly, happy franchisees. So talking about clubs, Michael, and the problems that we have as club owners, at the top of the list, some days it can be all about the software. And I have to say, right now in 2023, I've never seen so many different software programs coming out in the industry. Every day I get an email from somebody that has a new software product that's going to change the life of my club, keep the members, and do all of these fantastic things. So tell me, being the owner of a software development company, being Buzops, of course, first of all, why did you just go from owning clubs to deciding that you wanted to embark on a software company?
You lead into it so well for me to plug my own product. Thank you. First of all, I'm going to say this. I don't think software is the solution to everything, especially when it comes to service. You can go to a restaurant. The software tools that they use are pretty simple. And you can go to a restaurant and have a very, very bad experience, whether that be the wait staff, or that be the hostess, or that be the delay on the food, or the quality of the food, and you'll never go back, or you're likely not to go back. But if you go to a restaurant and every component of that was hit really well, and the food was fantastic, and your waiter or waitress was really attentive to you, you're still going to come back because that experience was there. The quality of the whole positioning of you coming in and having a great meal and meeting or exceeding the expectations of what you had for that food, or that night out, or that evening out, afternoon out, whatever it is, you're going to go back and you're probably going to tell other people about it. A lot of times when I even look for restaurants online, I'll say, and this kind of plays into software for a second. If you type in location, restaurants near me. And that's one of the things I'll do. We do the same thing for gyms, gym near me, personal trainer near me, whatever class near me. And you find that, and then you look at the Google review. And if the Google reviews are bad, I've been to restaurants where the Google reviews are awful, but I had recommendations from friends. And then I go there and it's fantastic. So I don't necessarily always think that software is the solution. I think the people are the solutions to having a successful business. And that's really in any business. But to your question, the reason why I got into software was with several hundred employees and moving parts in different locations and clients wanting to maybe train in Illinois and then go train in Texas or go train in Florida. What I found was it was complicated for me at the time. I mean, this is back in 2009, 10, 11, 12. And the software tools and platforms that existed then, the technology wasn't there to support those needs. Now there's a lot more technology that's been evolved very rapidly over the past 5 years, and you can now do those things. So Buzops was really designed for that intent, was really to get rid of headaches that I was experiencing as a business owner and helping manage payroll, helping manage client sessions, the little intricacies that you might find for training or group classes where a client wants to get a credit or a client wants to get the session that they paid for, even though they didn't show up. And now that session is technically gone in the system for that session to be reverted if they want, without a lot of clicking around on a software system. So for me, it was to eliminate a lot of the operational headache and the task associated with that. People having to look back on calendars and look back on something to find out what really happened or look back at notes. It was streamline and simplify and make easy use cases for me as a business owner, our managers, to understand what's going on with our numbers and how can we best serve our customers. Because at the end of the day, that's what we enjoy doing. That's why we started, is to take care of our clients. And if we're stuck behind a computer trying to figure out the next computer problem and software problem, it's really hard to work with the clients and get them the results they're looking for. So that was the reason why I did it. And, so far it's, I'd say we have a good a group of people that are pretty satisfied with our product. And, we're growing by referrals really only at this point, which is fantastic, because I think that says a lot about what people prefer.
So what are some of the favorite features of the software that you like the most that you didn't have as a club owner?
I would say it was probably simplicity of scheduling and simplicity of taking payments and having that flexibility on how you break down a payment for a customer, downgrading or upgrading without having to cancel or pausing or freezing their, because you can pause or freeze. Most systems allow you to pause or freeze membership, but what about training? What about classes? What about an unlimited amount of group sessions or a variation of different types of classes and pausing that, or rearranging the way that you as a business owner want to have that flexibility? And that was really the thing for me. As we went into this, we started making sure that our platform was designed to allow for our gym customers, our fitness customers, to say, hey, this is how I run my business. I run it this way over here. It's different than that way. So we wanted to make our product something that was not just off the shelf, but you could go, okay, this is the platform that I'm working with. Can you guys deliver on these other things that I need?
Yep.
And then we develop it and we give them what they need. So it's a lot more customizable, I think, than a lot of the products that are out there, because even though you're a fitness business owner, every fitness business has like something very unique about how they operate. And that's a piece that it makes their life easier if they can have that little unique feature or that little unique button or whatever it is that makes their day easier. So that way they can focus on their clients. That's how this whole thing came about.
So I'm a club owner and I come to you and I say, look, I really want more of a personalized software program that's dedicated to my club. does your system allow, and I'm putting you on the spot now, does
Yeah.
your system allow, let's say, daily emails to those that expire without my staff having to do that? Text messaging to my expired and my overdue clients without my staff having to do that? Does it send out happy birthday emails without my staff having to do that? Because I don't want my staff behind the desk for 6 hours a day, spending all of their time sending out emails and phone calls and text messages to all of those different demographics. Can your system do that for the club owner?
Yeah. So I'll answer that in two parts. First of all, when we first developed our product, we wanted to make sure that we took care of the core group of the core needs of the gym, which is digital documentation, right, for agreements and waivers and all those things. So that way it's in one spot for every client. Being able to merge clients with family members and all those things, and having them share sessions or classes or whatever they needed to share, memberships, package deals, different types of payment structures, billing, being able to take payments from customers without getting charged these ridiculous processing fees. That was another big thing for me, because a lot of the groups that are out there today, it's where they make their money, is on the processing and other fees that are there. And so if you can cut down on a lot of those costs, that was the core base for our product. Now, we've really only been around for about a year, and we just started truly selling this past January, like letting people know, hey, we're here, and look at our product. Once we got beyond that, we started listening to gym owners and fitness owners and saying, what do you really need? Now that we have this foundation, like it takes care of the core needs, what are the details? Because I had my own set of details, which we implemented, but I'm one person with, a lot of different ideas. And I think it was important for every other gym owner to have say in the way that things got designed and developed. And when we did that, we started creating things that those gym owners needed, which was CRM tools that they could directly integrate with, because maybe they didn't want to use our CRM because they're happy with the CRM that they use. So instead of using Zapier or some of these other, messy connections where you're duct taping stuff together, we said, all right, well, we'll direct integrate with Pipedrive, because that was a low cost solution for a CRM, which makes sense for gyms. You use Salesforce as a gym, you've got to be a big gym operator to use Salesforce, because it gets very pricey and it's very robust and kind of clunky if you don't know how to use it. So Pipedrive was our first go-to. Second go-to is Go High Level. They've got a great product, and they integrate with a lot of it, like Twilio and Mailgun, things that you use. A lot of people that we've gone to, and they said, hey, I spent 100 hours developing my automations for emails, text, all of these things to go out to my customers. And I have all these tools already set up, and I spent a ton of time and invested money into this. Can we integrate with High Level? Sure. So we just developed the integration for it. So you can just plug right in, and then that triggers when your customer becomes or your prospect becomes a member. Then they get sent that email from whatever Go High Level platform program that you created. If they become inactive, since you've already created that email that goes out, or that text goes out, they get that, because that's what is triggered with Go High Level. Same thing with Pipedrive. Same thing that we're working on right now with HubSpot. So those were the keys for us that we saw. And we see other things like Active Campaign, things that gym owners use on a regular basis, so they don't have to go and recreate that again. Now, the next phase for us is developing those things that you specifically are talking about. Some gyms don't have CRMs. Okay. I think a CRM is very important because it helps you understand the customer workflow, and it helps your customers be in that workflow. Otherwise, as a gym owner, you're doing exactly what you're talking about, which is you have your staff texting, emailing, going through this entire process. They got to go look back at a list, who hasn't been in the past 15 days. I got to go text them and email and make sure they come in. So we're going through the process right now of developing those integrations directly. So you can send text, you can send emails, and you can also automate those things. And we're also doing an AI integration. So that way I can learn, based on our conversation, how you communicate in our platform.
Yeah.
So it's more responsive to the way that you best communicate, right? So if I send my initial email out to you and you respond back a certain way, then AI learns the way that you're communicating with me. And then over time, it creates its own version of the way that it has to communicate best with you. So that way it gets the best response, because all that data is just being collected.
Yeah.
Right. So the long term of this, I think, is going to be, when you really look at how software platforms are being developed, a lot more of this is going to be in that situation of big data and AI learning and understanding how customers are working and how they might make a decision to make a purchase. So that way you can send them the best email or the best text to get them back in your doors to keep that conversion going.
Absolutely. A really great piece of software or retention tool to look at the moment is Coachwelly. So if you get some time, have a look at Coachwelly, because that's a new startup business model for club owners that's going to be an absolute game changer for them in their club. So definitely, perhaps even get him on your podcast, Michael. The owner of that is Owen Bowling. He is a friend, but I've looked at Coachwelly and been part of the growth of that over the last 4 or 5 years, and it's an incredible product. Now, we've talked about your journey as a club owner, then taking some of the disadvantages in creating your own software. Your Buzops, is that a piece of software that the small PT, studio owner can have? And then you've got the larger club operator, and then you've got, full scale, I've got 5 to 10 clubs. Can your product marry up with all those different levels of operators?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I recognized when I first started, owning fitness business locations, was I didn't want to pay the $400 a month or the $300 a month, because I wasn't bringing in that enough revenue to justify that. Right. I mean, first month I might bring in $4,000 in revenue because it was just one PT person, and, we're growing. Well, $400, that's 10% of my revenue. I can't make that cut. Even at $8,000, $400 is 5% of my revenue. So for me at that point, it was like, how do I grow if software is going to be that costly? And when you multiply that over the course of 10 locations, you're, 4,000 a month, 44,000 a year, 48,000 a year. So it gets pretty costly very quickly. So one of the things that we wanted to combat was this idea for small business owners who were going out and getting their certification, or they were just getting into fitness, and them going, my gosh, I need like all these software tools to run my business, and I've got to manage my clients on an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm gonna have to take Cash App or Zelle or Venmo to try and make my business work. And then by the time they actually get to a point where they can actually take this information and put it into a CRM, and they're ready to run a business at scale, they go, oh, I have all this data I have to put into a real system, and it becomes a headache for them. So what we do for anybody who is doing, it doesn't matter where you're at in your business. Okay. If you use 24-hour access control, we have that solution for you. If you use barcode scans or QR codes to scan in for classes, we have that solution for you. PIN codes, we have the solution for you. Excuse me, because it's all integrated. It's all native to our platform. So we looked at that and we go, well, if I'm a coach and I'm just starting, I don't want to pay $400. So what we do is, anybody who's under $8,000 in revenue in a month, they only pay $29 a month for our entire platform. They can get video just like this. They can get every new tool that we add to our platform. It's all part of it. Any integration, we don't charge for it. Our mobile app with their own brand and their own logo, we don't charge for that, to white label it. So they get all that stuff if they're under 8,000 in revenue. Once they breach 8,000, if they do 9,000 in revenue, we take 0.5% of their revenue. So at $9,000, they pay $45. Right. So at 12,000, they pay $60. It's nothing. So we're not making money on the processing fees. We don't charge for those things. So they get everything they need to grow their business. I just had this conversation today with a guy who's outgrown his garage gym as a personal trainer, and he's looking for a space to open up. And he was asking the very same question: how do I go from that? And the beauty of it is our product allows you to just do that. You can be a trainer and you can pay 29, and as soon as you get to a revenue point that is over $40,000, it makes more sense for you to be on our fixed rate of $159 a month. So it's a grow with you platform without the additional fees, because we don't have any investors. It's all us that have invested our own money, our own time to make this thing. So there's no private equity, there's no board members. It's just me and my business partner and our team, and that's it. So it makes it really simple for us to make decisions.
I love the grow with you strategy. I don't doubt there'd be lots of club owners out there now going, geez, I wish all the other products were like that as well. Because, I often speak to club owners who have only got, when I say club owners, studio owners who have, a membership database of 150 or 200 clients.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to hear that sometimes they're paying the same license fees as I am for, perhaps their group fitness programming, or perhaps it's software or something else. So that, kudos to you for having a grow with you strategy. I think that could be a great tagline or hashtag for you.
I like that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I would be hashtag it definitely, and use it as your slogan. So moving away from the club operations and the software, we're in the middle of, you might as well say we're in the middle of 2023. Everybody's well and truly over talking about COVID and how they've come back that journey in their career. How do you foresee the future of our industry over the next 2 to 5 years? So break it down into 3 components. How do you see programming in terms of, group fitness programming, small group programming? How do you see technology being integrated into our clubs? And do you think we'll have a future of more sole operators, or do you think, franchising and, boutique studios is the future of the industry?
Yeah. So I'll answer your first question with programming. And I think it parlays well with the second question on technology. The programming aspect and tech aspect is obviously evolving at such a phenomenal rate. We're already looking at AI. I've done some projects with NFTs on the Ethereum blockchain. So we've played around quite a bit in different spaces with technology. So I look at that and I go, for me personally, because I went through and did this test on ChatGPT, I created a program for myself, and it took, probably 20% of the amount of time, a quarter of the time it would have taken me to write down a program that I wanted to do for myself or program for someone else. So I think programming is going to be simplified. Task related items are going to be simplified for anyone who's in that space where they're going, I'm creating a workout program with video, with audio signals to tell people what to do when they need to do it. That's going to happen through artificial intelligence, and that's going to be done, with artificial intelligence on the communication side for text to speech, and it's going to be done on the audible, and it's going to be done on the video side. So you're going to see more video related items that look like you and me, just like this. I mean, this could be AI for all you know. But the video component of this would be that same thing where instructors can pre-program other instructors to mimic their movements. So the repetitive task are going to be sped up, which is going to allow the interaction with human to human interaction to become a lot better. I think it's going to take away the need for us to be so heads down into programming and design and how all this stuff works. And it's going to speed that process up, so that way we can actually spend more time with our clients. We can actually be right there with them and give them the time that they need and deserve. On the tech side, I think beyond just programming, technology is also going to evolve to a point where you're going to see people taking payments in different forms of cryptocurrency. We've already gone through the platform and we've already developed it for us to take Bitcoin and Ethereum and GVO token, Good Vibes Only token. And that allows customers to make payments with a different type of currency. You see in different countries today, even the US dollar is losing its value.
Yep.
And I think you're seeing that same thing across the globe in different countries. So something has to replace it. And I talk about this before, where you had this idea of how people transacted with one another monetarily. And it used to be, shells or something pretty, right? Years ago.
Yep.
Then it turned into shillings or gold. And then it turned into, if you told somebody back then, hey, we're going to trade paper for something, right? That would have blown people's minds, in the 1800s or 1700s or 1500s. Now we go to, you're going to be able to write on a piece of paper a check to give to somebody that's going to be transacted. And then you go to, we're going to use plastic to make transactions happen and people to accept that. And now we're at the point where we are truly at digital currency. We're at that digital currency stage. So I think you're going to see, in at least the fitness industry or the industry in general, more transactions happening on a digital scale, where you're going to have cryptocurrency transactions happen, which are quite honestly a lot safer than the type of banking systems that exist today. So that's programming and technology. And then I think as you move into the way that you see franchises and licenses work, I don't think they're ever going to go away completely, because quite frankly, if I see something out there that somebody has a model for and it works really well, and the quality won't get watered down, the quality can be, it's so good because the franchisor just has a system rock solid, I would invest in that. And I think a lot of other people would still invest in that to have that model. So I don't think that's going to go away, but I do agree. Well, I don't know if you were saying this, but I think boutique fitness, I think those models, you're going to see more and more of those pop up, because the ability to have the software tools, the ability to have the technology that is available to everyone. I mean, it used to just be enterprise that had this type of technology. I don't know if you remember the old Cisco cameras and
Yep.
TVs on a wall. That was for enterprise groups. A small studio didn't have that. Today they do. So even TVs, because technology has improved so quickly, TVs, I mean, you have 6 of them in a house because they're a couple $100. So it's that type of evolution that I think is going to happen with fitness. And I think you're also going to see more of this in the fitness industry, more video, more audio with real people. And that's going to be the style.
Yeah,
I think. I could be wrong.
No, I agree with you on the topic of, every house has 6 or 7 TVs in it now because they're so cheap. That's also the reason that we have a lot of issues with, mental health and, conversation. If it's not the TVs, it's the mobile phones. So,
yeah.
that's another topic altogether. In terms of, boutique studios, I was on a call yesterday talking to somebody from Boutique Fitness Studios in regards to Stretch Lab, which is a new boutique studio. And we're talking, and it's really, the product is really, really cool. And I was actually impressed with not only the product, but the low entry fee for it. And when we were talking about it, I thought, this is a great opportunity for people who are perhaps in their second or third stage of their career, that are moving away from that fast-paced workout and looking for something a little bit more, not sedentary, but I'll use that word, and something that doesn't require, a lot of staff. But yeah, definitely. So my advice to people is, if you're looking for something new and niche, have a look at Stretch Lab. They're under the Boutique Fitness Studio brand here in Australia, but also under the Expo Lab brand there in the US. I have to ask you, Michael, what's your favorite piece of technology?
It would be my phone.
Your phone?
I can do everything on it. Yeah.
Everything on it? What about apps? What's your favorite app?
Well, if I had a favorite app, it would probably be Loom right now, just because anytime somebody asks me for a quick guide or a quick demo or a quick question about how something works, I can hop on Loom and record my screen, record myself, and it's real simple to send out. So as far as an application, I think it's a fantastic tool.
And any favorites in wearable technology when you're working out?
I don't use wearable technology.
Why?
I don't. I know it's. I used to have my zone, because we had it in our clubs, and my zone I think has fantastic interface. I think they have a great. They have several different ways that you can wear their hardware, either on your wrist or you get a little, upload it to your watch and wear a belt around your chest. That's really the only thing that I'd ever used as far as wearable technology. I know I don't even have one of those little Apple watches that monitors your sleep patterns and everything.
Yep.
Before I go to bed, I make my prayers, I meditate, I fall asleep, and I'm just gracious enough that when I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go, and thankful that I've got the next day to look forward to. So I try to stay away from too much tech.
Okay.
My phone's too much already. I'm on that thing all the time.
It is, isn't it? It's the phone or it's the laptop. And if you're like me, I've got two wearables. Obviously one of them is my zone, and then I've got my Whoop, however you want to pronounce it, which I use.
What's it called?
Look, I'm sure I pronounce it Whoop. Some people pronounce it Whoop, but anyway, I love it because it makes me accountable for my sleep and for my recovery. And
do you see that that's helped?
Yeah, absolutely. I injured my back throughout COVID, and had I not had something that was telling me that I needed to go to bed and I needed to recover, because I was still teaching Facebook live classes through the process of popping a disc. Had I not had that, I would have just been a little bit egoish, and I would have been, I can soldier on. But I felt that I was accountable to it, saying you need to go to bed now, or you need to recover a bit more. And I've kept it. And I have to say, I do love it.
Really, it forces you kind of, it
It
makes you more
does.
mindful.
It does. See, if you sat down and had a 10-minute conversation with me, said, Mel, you've got to put your phone away at 6 o'clock every night, and put your laptop down, and then you've got to do this, and then you've got to hop in the bed. I'll be like, yeah, I'll do it.
I'll get to it.
Yeah. And, a great guy here in Australia who's really good at this type of stuff, David Leo, he's had that conversation with me, and I just could not do it for the life of me. But the little thing on my wrist makes me do it. It makes me do it. So there you go.
Does it buzz at you?
Sorry? Does
it buzz at you? Does it send a signal to you?
No. So the app is on the phone. So when I open it in the morning, when I open my phone in the morning, it says to me, you had a great sleep, you had a bad sleep. You need to go to bed earlier tonight. These are your stress levels. And it tells me my stress levels throughout the day. They always go up when I'm in the supermarket. But I like it because it really is, for the first time in my life as a business owner, or even as a human, I'm being accountable to this little app and this little thing on my wrist. So
that's great.
I'm just going with the flow. Going with the flow. Now, before we finish up the podcast, just very, very quickly, what has been the best book that you've read in the last 12 months?
Ooh. I don't know if I've read a full book in the last 12 months.
I don't read full books, so don't feel bad. I just go through them, highlight them, and read the pages I like.
There was a book by Jeb Blunt. I can't recall the title. It was Sales. I can't remember what the title was, but it was by Jeb Blunt. And that was a pretty good book. I think I only got 3/4 the way through it though. Yeah. But 3/4 the way through it was good.
Yeah, that's good for me too. Like I said, I buy the books at the airport, and then I get on the plane with the highlighter and I highlight the bits that really interest me. And very, very unusual for me to read a full book, so don't feel bad.
And you know what that I probably do more of is actually listening. I have Audible, and I've got, I don't know how many different titles. I've got hundreds of titles on Audible. But I'll listen to a book and I'll get maybe 2-3 chapters in, and then I flip over to another book.
Yeah.
And then I'll do the same thing. Like Napoleon Hill, there's a bunch of different books that I've listened from him. I think there's a lot of good teaching books there. A lot of them are really just kind of self-help, motivational
Yeah.
guidance books. Sadhguru is a guy I've been listening to a lot. Yeah, so there's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah. Sometimes we purchase the books just so that we know that we're on the right track and we're doing the right thing because we're
Yeah,
reading about what we're doing.
yeah, yeah, I know.
It's true. So, Michael, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, just pretty much about anything, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, so you can contact me at mbenso, Benso, at bizops.com. You can go to bizops.com, use EOPS, just like on the shirt here. And you can find me there or reach out to our support team. Yeah, that's probably the two best places to get a hold of me. I think there's probably some YouTube videos out there on me and Instagram accounts and all the social. It's all there.
All the social things. So, Michael, thank you very much for joining me today on the Gym Owners Fitness Business Podcast. It's been a pleasure. Our conversation's been a bit of a fruit salad. We've spoken about your success as a club owner, to software, to how you feel our future of the fitness industry is going to become. So that's it for our conversation today. Now, I'll be dropping Michael's details in the bottom of our podcast. And as I said earlier on in the show, we have some great supporters and sponsors, and thank you to them for being part of our show. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Gym Owners Fitness Business Podcast. And if you're in Melbourne, in Victoria, don't forget our Ignite Fitness Business events in September the 14th at Crown Plaza. Thanks, Michael, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me on.